Hey friends, if you're seeing this video, it's because the algorithm served it up to you because I don't have very many subscribers. I'm building a new channel here and it's hard to do something new, and it's been hard for me to kind of focus and sit down in front of the camera and make the thing that I've been wanting to make. And I hope to be able to make these videos more regularly. I will say right off the bat that I have a bad habit of procrastinating on things that I find challenging. And so I've wanted to make more videos for a long time, but I haven't overcome the discomfort before tonight. So bear with me. These will get better. You know, Jordan Peterson says that in order to be an expert at anything, you have to be willing to be a fool at it for quite some time. And I guess that's me. And it's hard to do that when you're my age. It's hard to leave a successful career, or at least a career in which I had a certain amount of achievement. I'm not going to say it was a successful career because it didn't get me where I wanted to go, but I'll get to that. But to leave a career where you're making good money and you know what's expected of you, and to dive into the entrepreneurial world and depend on yourself for everything that your family's going to survive on, it's made me face all of the fears and things that I had swept under the rug. So where to start? Quick intro to get out of the way. I grew up in a Beachy Amish community in rural Ohio called Walnut Creek, Ohio. That's where I live now, again, after being gone for 20 years. Some of you will know about the Amish, and some of you, an even smaller amount of you, will know about the Beachy Amish, which is one of the sects of the Amish community. As a kid, I always dreamt of creating a beautiful and transcendent life. I wanted it all. But as a kid, I also wasn't willing to do the things necessary to have all of the things that I wanted. This is a character flaw that it's taken me a long time to address, and I'm still addressing that. And I'm going to share with you some of the sacrifices I've had to make and some of the sacrifices that I've been putting off making. It's obviously a sacrifice of my comfort to face the discomfort of being able to sit down in front of a camera and speak without notes and share my heart with you. But the reason I wanted to make this video is because I want to create a series of videos and share more about the spiritual journey that I've been on, my journey out of an addiction to pornography and many other things, my journey to renewing my marriage of 24 years and healing my relationship with my kids, and what God has done in all of that, and then the transformational journey that I've been on over the last 7 years, where my whole life is completely being transformed at the age of 48. Instead of continuing up the career ladder, what I did was I bailed out and went into the depths of hell and wallowed around there and came out, and am building a life that I've always wanted to live. So it's been an interesting and endlessly challenging journey. When you meet someone, you know if they have stared into the abyss. It gives you a certain quality in your soul that you can't fake. And when you meet someone who has been to the abyss and has gazed at it and found their reflection in it, you just know when you meet them. And I have an affinity for people like that because it produces some gold in their soul, and there's no other way to get it except to face the darkness. And I certainly have had to do that over the last 7 years. I'm sure there's more darkness to face, but I do feel more strengthened in being able to face it. And I've built some skills, habits, and mindsets that I've found helpful along the way, which I'll share with you. Like I said, this is a new channel. I want to grow it, and I'd love to have your help in growing it. And one of the things that you can do that will help is just to drop a like. Just hit that like button. That's going to tell the algorithm that I'm not a complete buffoon, and that it signals that you at least didn't hate this video, and then it'll serve it up to more people, and perhaps I can grow my audience here. The reason I want to grow my audience here is because I'm growing a new business that I started. The new business is called The Good King, and it's a coaching and mentorship community that I host on School, which is an online learning and community platform. I've built a series of courses. I have 7 courses on masculine initiation and flourishing. in my school group, and I have 32 members in the group right now, and I'd like to grow that. So I'm making these videos to help get the word out and reach more men who might make a Good King community member. One of the things that has been really helpful for me recently is to reconnect with my faith in a profoundly moving and deep way that is completely different from the fundamentalist conservative roots that I came out of. I'll share more about that in a little bit. My wife and I have 5 beautiful children. We have a little bit of an unusual family in that our 4 oldest kids were born when we were young married. They are now 22, 20, 18, and 16. And we have 2 boys and 2 girls in the oldest 4. And then we had a 15-year gap where we lost 3 pregnancies. We had 1 stillborn baby girl named Willow, and we had 2 miscarriages in that 15-year period. And then last summer, as kind of an exclamation point on our transformation journey, God blessed us with little Penelope. So we have a little baby girl that's turning 1 in a couple of weeks, and she has rocked our world. We're in our late 40s, and to have a 1-year-old, as I'm nearly 49 years old, has been a wild adventure. I don't have the energy that I did when I was 28, but I have a lot more wisdom, and I'm a lot more relaxed about being a parent. And I think I'm probably a better dad to her than I was to my older kids. Through the journey that I've been on, out of religious trauma, out of addiction, and really wrecking my life almost completely, and then coming out of that, being set free and finding God and His love in a way that changed my life and set me on a solid, grounded footing and began to heal me in ways that I didn't even know I needed healing. That's all taken place over the last 7 years. And that 7-year journey of transformation has really been a catalyst for me to start this business, The Good King, and to create a container where men can be in community and can share without shame and can learn and to keep each other accountable and to build the kind of brotherhood that I've always wanted, which is men who long to live the life of the Good King. As I was coming out of my addiction and over the last 7 years of healing and rebuilding my marriage and my family, a couple years ago, I looked around and I noticed that everybody that I care deeply about treats me as if I'm a king. And it's not because I'm a wealthy man financially. It's not because I have tons of things that I am able to give to people. But the people that are dearest to me treat me like a king. My wife of 23 and a half years, my 5 kids, and my friends, my extended family, treat me as if I'm a king. And I begin to wonder, why is that? Because I really was the fool. I played the fool for 30 plus years of my life, and yet here I am in my late 40s, and I feel like a king. And why do I get to experience life that way? And as I reflected on that, I began to see that it's because of God's mercy in that as I mapped my life onto the reality of Jesus, as I mapped my life onto the reality of the King of Kings, of course, my life became more kingly, which that makes sense, right? It's like if you practice embodying the way of the king, you're going to become more like a king. And it's not that I sought that out as a position to lord it over anyone. It was simply that I knew that the only pattern for my life that could shape my life in a way that produces the flourishing that I wanted and that I longed for and that I knew I needed was the highest pattern for humanity, which I've come to believe is Jesus. And this is what I teach in my courses in the Way of the Good King, is how to practically live out your life in your career, in your relationships, and in your life as a man, how to map your life onto the reality that Jesus is God and that He was here on earth, died, and was resurrected, and that His sacrifice broke the curse of sin, and that you're not under that curse anymore, and that you can live that life of nobility and life of human flourishing and a life of goodness and righteousness because of His Spirit that already lives in you. You're not disconnected from God. You just need to repent and change the way that you think and come back home to God and allow Him to shape your life instead of allowing your life to be shaped by all the other things that shape you. So let's talk for a minute about what shapes us. Our life is shaped by what we give attention to. Every moment of your life that you're awake and alert, your attention is like a roving spotlight that roams around and it lands on things, and mostly it lands on things subconsciously. You're not consciously directing the spotlight of your attention very much in life. That makes sense because it would be exhausting to have to be consciously aware of what you're attending to every waking moment. Our minds are designed such that the bulk of that work is done by the subconscious mind. The risk with that is that we give our attention to things that we are not really conscious of, and that shapes us. What we give our attention to is what shapes our perception. It shapes our mindset. It shapes what we come to believe about ourselves and our identity. It shapes the stories that we tell about ourselves and the stories that we understand the world with. So it's good to become aware of where our attention is going and what is shaping us. Take, for example, the 30 years that I spent in porn addiction. That shaped me a certain kind of way. It shaped me into the kind of man that was unfaithful to his wife. It shaped my mind into a very dark and warped place, and it nearly destroyed me. And I was not conscious of the ways in which it was destroying me. I thought I was clever enough to manage my secret sin and be able to hide it from everybody and have the thing that I wanted in the secret, but still play the role of husband and dad and Christian out in the public eye. What I wasn't aware of was all of the ways in which my attention going into those digital pixels on a screen was destroying my life. And I want to draw a connection for you between the idea of attention and worship. If you think of all of the things that you give your attention to over the course of a day or a week or over the course of a year or your lifetime, all of those things, if you just were able to put them out in a giant array and you were organizing them based on what you attend to the most, that's higher in that array. And if you really organize that carefully, something would be at the top of that. Let's just take your attention for the day. The things that your mind's eye roams to, the searchlight of your mind's eye, and what's in front of your eyes as well. What you give your attention to, it's good to notice what the highest thing is that you're attending to. What's the thing that you attend to the most? If you array these things, let's say in a pyramid, and then you look and see, well, what's at the top of that pyramid? What's the thing that I give my attention to the most? What's the default story that I come back to and loop on in my mind? What's the thought pattern that is the default that I come back to whenever I have a spare moment or when I'm trying to avoid feeling certain emotions or when I'm bored or when I'm sitting in traffic? Whatever that story is or whatever that thing is that you place in front of your eyes, that is kind of the default, the thing that you come back to the most, that sits at the top of your attentional hierarchy. And functionally, that is what you worship. Now, you might think that you worship God, but if, for example, you find that after analyzing your attentional hierarchy that, let's say, television sports is at the top of that hierarchy, it's good to notice the fact that, no, actually, you worship sports. And again, I reject shame. I don't think that shame is helpful in helping us transform. So I'm not saying that to shame anyone. I'm just saying it's good to notice that. Notice what it is that you attend to and ask yourself whether being shaped by the thing that's at the top of your attentional hierarchy, is that going to lead to the life that you want? Because it's going to shape you in a certain way. We're always being shaped by something, and it's good to become conscious of what the thing is that shapes us. I believe it was Carl Jung who said that until we make the unconscious conscious, it will rule our lives and we will call it fate. That's an apt observation because we tend to think of the outcomes in our lives as just fate. They're just deterministic. Well, that just happened to me. But the fact of the matter is that the vast majority of the outcomes in your life, the quality of your relationships, the quality of your career, your performance in your career, the direction your career is going in, the quality or amount or number of the friendships and relationships that you have outside of your intimate relationships, your relationship with your kids and your parents, all of that, the balance in your bank account, your body composition, all of that is shaped by the things that you attend to and the things that you do to soothe your nervous system subconsciously. The vast majority of those outcomes are shaped by things that you give no conscious attention to whatsoever. In my community, The Good King, one of the things that we do when we first start going on this journey of transformation is learn to shine the light of love on the subconscious patterns that are shaping our life and noticing where our attention is going. What is it that I'm giving my attention to? What are the stories that I'm living out of? What do I actually believe? I say I believe one thing, but if I observe the way that I act, is that what I'm really acting out? Because your actions communicate your beliefs accurately 100% of the time. You always act consistently with what you really believe. Now, you may not act consistently with what you say you believe, but what you say you believe really doesn't matter at the end of the day, because the way that you act, the way that you behave in the world, the things that you do and think and say is what actually shapes your life, and that reveals the truth of what you actually believe. So I think a lot of times as Christians, especially in the fundamentalist Christian context that I grew up in, where there was a strong emphasis on belief as a set of propositions that I kept in my mind that I agreed to and I had to be correct about. I had to have my mental furniture arranged properly so that I wouldn't go to hell after I die, for example. That version of belief is a very limited view of belief. Belief is actually what I do with my life. Now, as a person of faith, I am living as if it were true that God is love and that God is the ground of being and that Jesus was God, that Jesus was the fullest embodiment of love, the perfect embodiment of love, and that if I map my life onto that reality, that I will live eternally and that I will have a life of flourishing the way that Jesus described having the kingdom of heaven in my life. It's an ascension of consciousness. It's a salvation from the things that have held you back and have gripped you, from the sins that have kept you from becoming the human being that you were made to be. So I live my life as if all that were true. That's faith, right? I live as if it were true, even if to my human eyes it might look like the story is something like, well, he who dies with the most toys wins, or he who dies with the most power wins, or he who dies with the most pleasure wins. We have these idols that we lift up as humanity. The four great idols of man, of course, are power, pleasure, honor, and I just am drawing a blank on the fourth one now. I think it was Aristotle who said that. See, power, pleasure, honor, money. Power, pleasure, money, and honor. The four great idols of man. Those are the things that we often act as if we believe those are the most fundamentally important things. And living by faith is to live as if it were true that those are not the most important, that love transcends all of that, and that if we live as if that were true, that we will have what we need, that God will care for us. And my life over the last 7 years has been an exercise in putting that faith to the test in real life with life or death consequences for me and for my family. And I'm just enough of a joker, enough of a clown, enough of a fool to be willing to test that theory out in my life. The upside to being that joker that is willing to just go all in, the holy fool, the fool for Christ, is that you actually find out that it is true, and that when you go all in on love, that you begin to live in a way that is deeply shaped by the King of Kings. Then you find out you're living like a king, and then you have the life that you really wanted. And that's the season that I'm in right now. Now, that doesn't mean my life is perfect. I'm going to share with you some of the things that I still struggle with, some of the areas in my life that I'm still in process of surrendering to this overarching hierarchy that love is the highest thing, and that I can trust God to soothe my nervous system when I surrender all of that to Him. I still have some habits of soothing my nervous system, of seeking comfort, that are not conformed to that yet. You can see when you look at my body composition, for example, that I'm about 30 pounds overweight. That's an indication that I still have some remnant deep in my subconscious that thinks that I need the comfort of delicious food in order to be okay. If you go back to the story in Genesis, for example, Eve is there and the serpent offers her the fruit that looks good to the eye. It's the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And he said, you need this in order to be okay. You need this in order to be like God, to be whole, to be saved, let's say. And it looked good to her, and she reached out and took it and ate it. And we have that same DNA in us. We are always seeking that thing that's out there that we can reach out to grasp and take into ourselves to be okay, to feel good, to soothe our nervous system. Our ultimate nervous system regulation is found in God's Spirit, in Jesus. And the practice of embodying that is a faith journey, because you have to be willing to give up the old ways in which you'd soothe your nervous system, maybe through pornography or alcohol or whatever the thing is. Give it up and see if God will soothe your nervous system as you lean into love. It's faith. You have to live as if it were true before it can become true. And I'm still in process on this. I've seen transformation in many areas of my life. My marriage has been healed. My relationship with my kids have been healed. And one of the things that I'm proudest of is the way that our home feels. Our home is peaceful and full of joy. Like I mentioned, our 4 older kids, when they're all home, it is just a delight. And I have a relationship with them that I never would have dreamt that I'd be able to have. I was always worried that my kids would be as ugly to me as I was to my dad when I was a teenager. And that just hasn't been the case. And I give God the credit for that. And I know that the reason that He's been able to work that out in our life is because we surrendered to His love. We surrendered to His grace. We rejected shame as a construct. We went all in on speaking the truth in love and creating an environment in our home where each human being has the dignity to be called upon to speak the truth in love and to show up as they really are and to be seen and heard and loved, and not needing anybody to soothe our nervous system, because we're finding that in Jesus. So I don't need my kids to be a certain way for me to be okay, because I'm okay. I'm in Christ. And if you think of Christ not as just this arbitrary thing to believe in as a story, but actually as a pattern for your life. Let's say that, what's a good example? Let's say I take this pen, for example, that I'm holding, and I use it as a pry bar to pry open a lid, for example. This is not going to perform all that well as a pry bar, and I'll probably destroy it in the process. Now, I might get the lid open. The utilitarian argument would say, well, that worked, right? But it only worked once because I've just destroyed the pen, but now I also don't have a writing instrument. And the thing is, when you use something in a manner in which it wasn't designed for, you might get the job done, but things will suffer. And I believe that we were made according to a pattern. Genesis says that we were made in God's image. So we're made to be creators. We're made in the image of love. So God is love, and God is the ground of being, and God made us in His image. So the pattern for us is love. Jesus came to make that pattern explicit in human form. Jesus is the highest paradigm for which humanity was created. And when we live that out, when we live the pattern of Jesus in our life, then all of our life can come together in a unity, and that unity is in God. So our nervous system is regulated in that. Our emotions are processed in that. Our body, mind, soul, and spirit all come together in that one unity that is the highest unity, which is the God of the universe, expressed as love. And we've instantiated that in our home, and it's changed us, it's healed us. And I never thought that I could have the relationship with my teenagers that I do. And I love to see them flourishing because of what God is doing. And it's one of the things that I love to teach other men is how to create that in their home, how to set up your home in a way where instead of your kids escaping to their room to find their nervous system regulation in their Xbox or on TikTok, they can instead show up honestly and participate in the life of the family in a way that's wholesome and healing and actually deals with the real things that they're grappling with, where they can be honest about the struggles that they're facing, where they can call you out on your crap if you need called out, and you can call them out if they need called out, but to do it in love and truth and grace and to reject shame at every turn. As we've done that over the past 7 years, it's changed our family, and it's changed our family tree completely. I believe that we are launching a generation of kingdom kids, kingdom families that will come from my wife and I. And that's because of the work that was done on the cross. It's also because of the moving forward towards love that was done in the previous generations. My wife's parents and grandparents, my parents and grandparents all took the raw materials that they had and they moved forward towards love in the best way that they knew how. And that's what we're doing. I believe we're in a very interesting time in world history where the modern age is changing dramatically. We've lived in modernity for all of our lives, and now the developments in technology, the changes that are coming to the human story are almost too vast to truly grapple with. We all sense that there's a kind of shaking where the old things are being shaken, the foundations are being shaken, and I believe that having a proper view of what God is and how God is a pattern in Jesus for our lives, I believe that that is a unifying story that can ascend our consciousness together as a human family towards greater flourishing. I think it is absolutely essential that we ground our experience in the truth of reality, which I believe to be God and His love. The modern story, which says that everything that you see around you just came about as a result of evolution and consciousness arose out of an evolutionary process and that there is no uniting narrative, that story has gone by the wayside. That has failed. It has produced nihilism. It's produced a highly individualistic society where we are getting more and more separated and more anxious. And I believe that a true understanding of the Christian story, which, let me just be frank, is not all that widely spread amongst, let's say, the religious establishment, but a true understanding of the story about Jesus is what we most need in order to move forward and heal humanity and move forward. I believe that the way to do that is to start with you, to start with me. We have to start individually and map our life onto reality, onto the truth, and to be transformed and allow ourselves to have our attention and our passion, our purpose, our mission, all of that be found in alignment with our true design, in alignment with love. And that when we do that and we speak the truth in love, that together we'll be able to find our way forward towards a brighter future. That's why I created The Good King. I really wanted a bright future for myself and for the generations that are coming after me. And the way to do that is through community that's grounded in a transcendent story that unites us. That story, I believe, is the story of the God who suffers with us, the God who came down, the God who sacrifices for us, the God who unites with us. And when we're united with Him, think about that. You can be united to God. You can be united to the ultimate good. There is nothing higher than that in life. When you, in the depths of your consciousness, in the depths of your soul, are united to the highest love to the ground of reality, that is what you were made for. You were made for the ecstasy of union with God. And of course, sin cast you out of that Garden of Eden, all of us, right? But that curse has been broken in Jesus. And my invitation to men is simple. Map your life onto the reality of Jesus and see your return to the garden. See the kingdom of heaven emerge in your home and in your marriage. Bring your attention into harmony with the way it was actually designed for. Here's the thing. I said earlier, we're always being shaped by what we give our attention to. I no longer consent to being shaped by bullcrap. I no longer consent to be shaped by the pitiful, by the profane, by the mundane, by the banal. I will not be shaped by that. I only consent to be shaped by that which is highest, that which is noble, that which leads to the highest flourishing and the highest good. I want nothing less for my life or anyone else's. That's why I created the community that I did, because I wanted to have a container where we could pursue that vision together. I hope that you'll consider following this channel as I unpack more of this in future videos. I would love if you would give this a like and a thumbs up and let me know, all 73 of you that are likely to watch this video, if this resonates with you. And please drop a comment below and let me know what your experience is of encountering Jesus as the ground of reality, encountering love as the ground of being, and mapping your life onto that and seeing your life actually come together in a unity that produces the kind of flourishing that you were really made for. If you've experienced this and you think I'm onto something, let me know, because I'm working this out in real time in my own life with my own family. And there's not a modern organization that does a good job of communicating about this. Many people in organized churches have some semblance of the story about Jesus, but it's so easy to get caught up in religiosity. It's so easy to get caught up in the energy of empire and in the energy of certitude and religious certitude and fundamentalism and all of that. None of that is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a curious and humble approach to discovering the truth and the depths of God's love as the ground of reality, as revealed in the narrative in the Bible. And I want to find out more about that. I want to live that out. I'm testing this out with my life. I'm going to share about this journey with you. And hopefully together we can get to a better place. We can get to a place that is a place of elevated consciousness, a place of more love, more connection, less disconnection, less shame, more community, all of that. Guys, if you want to truly live like a king, you have to follow the King of Kings. You have to be shaped by the King of Kings. There's no reason for reality to return to you a life that is kingly and noble if you're being shaped by the profane and the pitiful. That's just not going to work. Join me, subscribe to this channel, or give me a like, and watch my future videos, and let's unpack this together. If you want to learn more about what I'm talking about, you can visit my website at goodking.life. I'd love to see you comment below and let me know what you would like to cover in future videos. Thanks for your attention.